Hello everyone, happy Thursday. This is my usual Thursday live Facebook video for my Badass Biz Mastermind Facebook group. And today I wanted to go over something that I was talking about with a client the other day. We were talking about how to strategize her content in a way that brings her audiences closer to her. Because there's various levels that people need to get through in order to get to you. And we've been talking about this in terms of Ascension Model content. We've been talking about this in terms of Ascension Model offerings. And I've talked before about the know, like, and trust factor and how many touch points you need with someone in order to engage them or as a client or a customer. And so today I wanted to go over, I kind of envisioned this diagram of how to visualize the know, like, and trust factor by using content in different ways. And so I'm going to be going over this. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm going to scan it and put it in the comment section of this video so that you guys can access it. And I see that Debbie's joined us. Hello, Debbie. It's nice to see you. Good morning to you as well. It's still morning by a couple minutes. So yeah, today I'm going to go over the know, like, and trust factor. And I've kind of envisioned it here, as you can see, as a series of circles. And so people are accessing you and getting closer and closer and closer to you, depending on what kind of content you put out into the world. And so the first outward circle that we have is freebie content. And that's things like word of mouth, if people recommend you to other people. It's things like press. So if you get featured in blogs and articles on radio stations and newspapers, it's things like social media. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, even Google My Biz counts in that outer ring, and then blogs on your website. And so this is the type of content that just exists out in the ether, waiting for people to find it. And so they might find your content because they're browsing through a blog that they like. They might find your content because they're browsing through their Instagram feeds. They just stumble upon this content without really necessarily looking for it in some shape or form. Sometimes they go out and look for it intentionally, but this outward circle is just stuff that exists waiting for people to find it. And so that's the freebie content. And then we come in one circle closer because you are at the center here. And so as people move in closer to you, they're going to have more and more access to you. And so the second circle, as we're coming in, is going to be self-paced content. And so that's physical or digital products. They have already self-selected in a way where they've seen your freebie content and they're like, yes, I want to learn more. And so they self-select and move in one circle closer to you. And they decide to buy a physical or a digital product from you. And this is self-paced. And so it doesn't require your physical presence in order for the audience member to engage in that piece of content. And so it's like your website. They've already self-selected and selected your website to look at it. And so that counts as a self-paced piece of content because they've gone to your website and they're like, yes, I want to learn more, and they've clicked on the link. And it also counts as webinars. They've signed up for a webinar. They've self-selected themselves to sign up for this webinar that you've already pre-recorded. These are not webinars where you are physically present. It's pre-recorded stuff. Or stuff like newsletters. They've self-selected and signed up for your email list. So that's that second circle that we're talking about. We're talking about DIY self-paced content where they've self-selected and been like, yes, I want to move one step closer to this person and find out more about them. And in the third circle, going even closer here, we have group content. And so that means networking. If you are in-person networking, you need to physically be there with the group of people in order for them to have access to you. Things like workshops, they need to physically have access to you in a group setting for that kind of stuff. And so they've seen your other content, the freebies and the self-paced content, and they've self-selected even further and been like, yes, I want to interact with this person as a group, in a group format. And it's also things like mastermind groups. So people have self-selected themselves to get even one step closer to you. And then the middle circle here is one-to-one. And so they've self-selected to decide that they want even more access to you, more exclusive access to you. So this is your programs. These are the one-to-one services that you offer people. And so as you're thinking about creating content, you are encouraging people to take the step from the outer rings to the inner rings. And it takes a while for people to get to the inner rings. And so you have to give them a lot of chances for them to self-select and move their way inside, because this inner circle is the most valuable circle. And it takes a while for people to know, like, and trust you to the point where they're willing to be in that inner circle. And so on the outside, if we're talking about freebies, it's very, very, very rare for people to jump from the freebie circle all the way to the one-to-one circle in one step, because it takes around 10 to 50 touch points in order for people to jump from the freebie circle to the one-to-one circle, because it takes a lot of time to build that know, like, and trust factor. And so you have to give them 10 to 50 pieces of freebie content in order for them to trust you enough to jump all the way to the one-to-one circle. So it's very rare for people to jump all the way there without having the time to get to know, like, and trust you. But if you're going from the freebie circle to the group circle, so the one above one-to-one, that's semi-rare. And so they've seen freebie content and then they jump to the group content. So they jump 2 circles inside. And they're like, yes, I want to jump into a group with this person. It typically takes about 5 to 30 touch points in order for someone to be convinced to have that time to build up that know, like, and trust factor to jump all the way from freebie to a group format. And so it's not all the way to one-to-one, which is the inner circle, but it's still semi-rare for them to jump all the way to the group circle. And then if they're going from freebie to self-paced, which is the second circle, that's only one step. And so it's the most common for people. They see your freebie content and they're like, yes, I want to go one step further. They want to do self-paced content. They see your freebie social media posts and they're like, yes, I want to sign up for their newsletter list, for example. That would be an example of someone jumping from the freebie circle to the self-paced circle. And so that's the most common here. And so typically it only takes about 3 to 10 touch points for them to decide to jump from the freebie circle to the self-paced circle. Debbie's saying, I like this visual. I definitely need to work on the self-select circle. Yes. Newsletters and webinars are on my agenda. Yes. And so when you're thinking about creating content, think about how many steps it takes for people to self-select and get closer to you and your services, because it takes a lot of time. People typically recommend a 90-day marketing cycle because it takes 10 to 50 touches for a cold customer, someone who has no idea who you are, no idea what you offer, no idea that you exist, to know, like, and trust you enough to buy from you. So I'll show this visual again and I'll post it just so that you guys have a better visual of it. But it takes a lot of steps for people to get from the freebie circle all the way to the inner one-to-one circle. And so one step for the freebie to the self-paced would be an example that I said of social media posts to newsletter signups. That's one self-selection that they use to get closer to you. If they're going from the self-paced to the group format, maybe they're already on your newsletter list and then they decide to join a mastermind group of yours. So that would be another level of self-selection. And then if you're going from the group to the one-to-one, then that's another level of self-selection. So maybe they're in your mastermind group and then they decide to buy a one-to-one program from you. And so that's further self-selecting themselves to get closer to you, to get closer to your expertise. And so if you're pushing products, if you're a product-based business, you're kind of going to exist in this self-paced circle most of the time, because people are going to self-select from the freebie circle. They're going to see your social media posts. They're going to hear word of mouth. They're going to see your Google My Business profile, and then they're going to self-select and go to your website to buy the product. And so you aren't involved in that transaction. Yes, you need to fill the order, but you don't need to be with the customer in order for that order to happen. And so think about strategizing your content in a way that encourages them to self-select from the freebie content into the website or into the purchasing platform, whatever you use in order to sell that physical or digital product. So this is an example of, like, for example, if you do house parties with your products, like I know the Pampered Chef would be an example. That would be a group circle format, but people need to sign up from a freebie or from a website. You know, they have multiple levels that they need to get through in order to be in that group format with you. So there's a level of self-selection there that you need to guide the client through in order to get to you and your services and products. Does that make sense with you guys? Let me know if you have any questions, drop them below. And so it has to be really clear when you're making pieces of content what path you want the client to go through in order to get to you and your products and services. So each piece of content that you create should have an answer to the question, why am I telling you this? Are you creating this piece of content to get them to sign up for your newsletter list? Are you creating this piece of content to get them to sign up for a workshop of yours? Are you creating this piece of content to get them to spread the word about you, to generate word of mouth? Really walk them through the process that you want them to take. Don't make them guess. Don't make it a guessing game. Just really put the call to action there. Make it really clear what you want them to do after they read or consume this piece of content, and really lay it out for them. People are story-based. People are context-based. People are visual-based. So put it into a context. Put your content into an overarching framework, an overarching structure, an overarching path that you want the client to walk through as part of engaging with you and your products and services. Does that make sense with you guys? All right. Let me know if you have any questions. This is something that I was talking about with a client the other day. We were talking through her social media content strategy and how to make it clear that she wanted to convert the people that she was producing content for, because her content had great engagement. Her content had great exposure. She was getting lots of video views. She was getting lots of shares, lots of comments, lots of participation, but people weren't actually buying her stuff. And that's because she wasn't telling people to buy her stuff. She was just creating content that created engagement, content that was viewed and shared and had exposure. But you also need to guide the client through what next steps you want them to take. Be like, I find this piece of article interesting, and the reason why I'm showing it to you is because it relates to my offerings in X, Y, and Z. So really spell out for them why you are telling them this with this piece of content. I've even put that on my social media content calendar. I have a spreadsheet where I map out all of my content for the month, each day, what I'm going to post, when I'm going to post it, what platform I'm going to post it on. I've done a video on it before. Check that out if you want some tips. And at the top, I have in bright yellow bolded capital letters, why am I telling you this? So I make sure that each piece of content has a purpose. Each piece of content speaks to a particular client or a particular problem or a particular set of people, so that they know they can contextualize my content in a way that makes sense in their worldview. Does that make sense with you guys? And so each piece of content should really answer the question, why am I telling you this? Why is it worth their time to stop and consume that piece of content? How is that piece of content guiding them through the process of coming in closer to your inner circle? Does that make sense with you guys? All right. So that's what I wanted to go over today. Again, I'll post this in the comments to give you guys a visual of it. But until next time, let me know if there's anything else you want me to go over, anything else that I wasn't clear about. I know a lot of us are struggling right now as we're trying to pivot and adjust to the new circumstances that we are faced with. So let me know how I can support you guys. I'm here for advice. I'm here for brainstorming. I'm here for bitching if you just want to like get together and commiserate. So let me know. I'm here for you guys. I love you guys. I hope you have a good weekend. I'm always happy to see you Thursday. So yeah, enjoy it. Have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye.